Hi, welcome back. This is Rajeshwari. Today I am going to give introduction regarding the Hadoop components. Very important components we have to deal. So as a part of a syllabus, we are going to deal only two tools or components in it. One is MR, MapReduce. One more is a HDFS. So let us start our discussion. So my topic is grid and cloud computing. We know about this. Now coming to components of Hadoop. Components of Hadoop means as we have to do a lot of transactions in order to deal with the big data. As I said previously, those transactions are the storage, processing, retrieving, maintenance, securing, etc. etc. So as an introductory part, the Hadoop framework by the Apache given only 4 components for maintenance of the big data. Later, they used to introduce a lot of tools which can be helpful for more efficient processing, storing and retrieving of the data. So as I said, the Hadoop have only 4 components. Those are Hadoop distributed file system, Yarn, MapReduce and Hadoop COM. So Hadoop distributed file system, as without cloud we are not able to store any data, without storing we are not able to process your data. We should learn how to store your data. So this is the tool in which we can store your data as a normal way by using a concept called as a virtualization or virtual machine in your laptop. So which is able to connect to our cloud system, thereafter we can get the data. Next one is AN. AN is the one after storing your data in terms of a commodity hardware. These resources should be available or maintained in a perfect manner so that you should not lose the data. That is called as AN, or we can say it is called as a resource manager. Next one is a MapReduce. What is the use of this storing? So some users want to store data, retrieve data in terms of files. Some users want to execute your data because the laptop is not able to cope up with large amount of data processing, or it may give very less efficient. So in that cases, it is a place where we can execute a large amount of data in a distributed manner is a MapReduce, which contain 2 main components in this. One is a mapper, next one is a reducer. We will discuss about that very shortly. Next is a Hadoop common. So whenever there is a compatibility problems in terms of large data storage, in terms of clusters, in terms of what we can say clouds, there should be a compatibility problem. Okay, so in that case we should get rid of these compatibility problems in terms of providing a lot of libraries for our service. So one is the storage, one is the resource manager, one is the program executor, and one more is the libraries and the utilities. Now as a part of a syllabus, we will introduce about one by one in a very short manner. Hadoop projects. So as a part of a syllabus, I want to give a little introduction regarding some other tools we have in terms of a Hadoop framework. See, so this is a picture I got from the Google when I typed some tools. Okay, so if you are able to observe, we have a data storage tool called as HDFS with the collaboration of data processing framework called as a MapReduce. So all these tools is going to run under JVM, Java Virtual Machine, because our system may not able to be the same with the capability to process your data in terms of a cloud. The cloud configuration is vary from your system vary. So automatically there should be a virtual machine in terms of Java programming, because the Hadoop is nothing but a environment. It supports a Java, C, C++. Of course we will learn about shortly. So in terms of Java virtual machine, any library in terms of a common tool, you can convert from one form to another. So the Java virtual machine is going to be about the operating system, because the heart of a computer is the operating system. Okay, so these are all the servers, etc. So whenever the HDFS and the MapReduce are ready by using the connectivity in terms of grid or cluster, then all these tools can be helpful to work on our data. Okay, see for example, if you want to access your data, it can be a pick tool, hive tool, scoop tool or Arrow. Or if you want to do some orchestration, some processing of the data, we can representation, HBase, Chakwa, Flume and Zookeeper. Right now, so like this we can process our big data in terms of Hadoop projects or tools. See, every tool is going to provide our backup and recovery, deployment from one system to another or one cloud to another, the security along with the management. Okay, so whatever the tool you are going to be opt for your application, those are going to provide a combo pack called as a backup and recovery, deployment, security and management. Next, I want to give a brief introduction regarding all these tools, not in detail because in the syllabus we don't have that much requirement. So common, as said previously, I gave an introduction regarding the common. The common is a one which are going to provide the libraries and interfaces so that any system which is not going to be the same with any other system can able to execute those libraries and interfaces to execute those data in terms of a sharing, right? So we can use the serialization, Java, remote procedure call, persistent data structures, etc. Avro is the one which is nothing but the cross-language RPC, means whenever the client and the server are not going to be the same compatibility, automatically the Avro will come into the scene. It will make a conversion from one form to another so that the data is not going to suffer in terms of storage and the processing. Next one is a MapReduce. We know about these two. This is a processing one, this is the storing one. Okay, so distributed data processing model and execution environment that runs on large clusters of commodity machines. We learned about this in the previous video. The HDFS is the one where we can store your large data in a distributed manner in terms of commodity machines. I repeat, what is a commodity machine? A commodity machine is the one which is 100% more than your normal laptop system configuration. Next one is a PIC. A PIC is a language framework. Means, for example, if you want to write any application or execute your application, that should be in Java. Okay, so in that we have to follow some constraints. Means, for example, we have a mapper code, reducer code, what is the combiner code, etc., etc. So like this, for everything, if you want to execute your code, that should be in some language. That PIC is going to provide that environment for your large data sets to execute. See, a data flow language and execution environment. See, you can execute your environment by using some language in order to execute your data, which are going to store in HDFS and which are going to execute it by MapReduce. Okay. Next one is a Hive. The Hive is the one when some of the people want to access their storage or processing in terms of SQL. Okay, in terms of query. So if that is the case, the Hadoop framework is going to provide the Hive by which we can access your data or some of the data based upon your queries in terms of Hive. Next one is HBase. HBase is nothing but the Excel sheet we can say. Whenever you need your data in some of a column oriented database, then it is going to provide HBase. Okay. And finally Zookeeper, very important one, as it names itself contains the Zookeeper. Keeper is the one which gives some guidance or security or going to manage so that our data is not going to captured by any other outsider. Okay, Zookeeper provides the primitives such as distributed logs that can be useful for building distributed applications. And finally the Scoop. A Scoop is the one which if you want to convert from one representation of the data to another. For example, I want to convert from relational to HDFS because HDFS environment is totally different from the relational databases. If that is the case, you can easily move from one form to another using the Scoop. Next, MapReduce. So I want to introduce about the MapReduce. As I said previously, we have a lot of tools, but in that we have a MapReduce in the HDFS as a part of a syllabus. Okay. So what is a MapReduce? We contain two components, mapper and the reducer, which can able to process our data in terms of a code. Okay, whatever application you want to execute, that should be in a code only. Right, we have to write the code. That code can be in Java, C, Perl, whatever. Ruby also can be supported based upon your requirement and your capability to write any concepts in some language. Okay, next. So MapReduce is a framework using which we can write applications to process huge amounts of data in parallel on large clusters of commodity hardware. Right? This we are getting from the beginning. Next. So it is a processing technique and a programming model for distributed computing based on Java. Right? We know about this. The Hadoop can run programs written in languages like Java, Ruby, Python, and C++. right? So in this mapper and reducer contain two components or two important tasks. One is a map, one is a reduce. Map task, yeah. Here I have to explain the map and the reducer work. See, your HDFS framework is not going to same as your laptop concept to store your data. Okay, it's because any operating system can able to store your data in terms of folders, right? But HDFS is giving the folders, but some other local file system will it give. Okay, and there is a constraint with the block size also in the HDFS. So all this, whatever data we have going to provide to the cloud in terms of big data, that big data have to divide in terms of a block, okay, which is suitable to HDFS in terms of 64 MB. Okay, now it is a time to map up to verify all the blocks of single transaction or application and to convert those which are useful for storing in HDFS. So the mapper will take all the blocks, will convert all the data in terms of key value pairs. Okay, so after converting the key value pairs, all the data is going to stuff it to reduce or move it to reduce. The reducer will do all the shuffling, copying, removing, whatever. Every transaction which we require to process your data finally is going to done by reduce. So this is a work of two things, that is a map and the reducer. Now let us start. Map takes a set of data and converts into another set of data where individual elements are broken down into key value pairs. Next, what is the reducer job? Secondly, the reducer job which takes the output from the mapper as an input and combine those data into a smaller set of tuples. Okay, now first whenever the data is submitted to the system, the map have to take care of the job. After that, the output of the map is going to provide as input to the reducer. This is a work happening one way. We can't start with the reducer and we can't end with the mapper. As a sequence, we should follow. First is a mapper, next one is a reducer. It's a mandatory. We have to remember that. Okay. Even if we are going to write your code for a program or application requirement, we should start the execution with the mapper only. We have to call mapper first. Later, we have to call reducer. If any mismatch in this sequence, automatically the data will give some mess up output. So we have some architecture, map reduce architecture. Before moving this map reduce architecture, I want to convey the main elements. Okay, because in this mapper and the reducer along with the HDFS, we have 4 components initially. Those are, I want to introduce main elements. First one is job tracker, which is element in the mapper and the reducer. Next one is a name node, which is available in the HDFS. Next one is a task tracker, which is a part of a map reduce. Next one is a data node, which is a part of a HDFS. See why I have given this alignment not in a sequence manner. See, if it's possible, I can start with the job tracker, later task tracker, later name node and data node. But I have given some sequence because the transaction or execution of your application is going to be done by in this sequence only. See, whenever the client is going to submit a request to any HDFS component, Hadoop component, Hadoop framework, automatically the request is going to taken by job tracker. It is the one which initiates our request in terms of processing. Okay. See, after accessing or after getting the request from the client, it will make a call to name node, which is a part of a HDFS. What is the work of this name node is whatever data, whatever the user data, whatever the scattered data is available in total cloud that is available with the name node itself. It is going to provide total database, or we can say dictionary. Okay, a dictionary is a one which have lot of information, your requirement, page numbers, meaning, etc., etc. The name node also contains the total namespace of your storage capability media. Okay, so whenever the identification of the client is over and whenever your data is available in terms of name node index, then it will invoke a task tracker. The task tracker is the one, the real one, which is going to execute, find out a processing, because the data is going to moving to the processor in the Hadoop. Actually, what is happening whenever the data is going to available with the client is going to submit a data to the server will execute that process, right? And the reply or output is going to again back to client. But it is not happening in the Hadoop framework. At the place of the data, as it is a big data, the processor will come and execute there itself and give the output and will make a move back to the place. Okay. Now, after getting the information, the availability of the data places, the task tracker will provide a processor to execute your data to go that place. Okay. So, that is a place where the data is available. Okay. Here the data node which contains actual data of the client to execute. Hope you understood now. The client will submit a job to the task tracker. If the client is the genuine person or is a registered person, it will make a request to the name node regarding the details of the client. The client application, the data scattered because it is distributed system of the the data of the client. Okay, it is going to make request to the name node. If the data is available, automatically it will going to ask the task tracker, which is under the control of job tracker. The task tracker always under the control of the job tracker. The task tracker will initiate to start a processing or start a processor. Okay, the processor is going to send to the data node where actual data is available. The data, for example, you are sitting in America, but if data is available at the China. Okay, no, the task tracker will initiate a processor to go to the data which is available in the China. There you can execute the data. Okay, hope you understood all this. So job tracker, task tracker as a part of MR, name node, data node as a part of HDFS. Now come back to the architecture. Hope you understood the architecture now. See, if the client want to make a job, he is going to submit a job. The job tracker will take care of that. Okay. After that, whenever there is a data distributed file system, the data is going to split in terms of what is split, or we can say part. Okay, in terms of 64 MB. All data is going to split in terms of different splits, 64 MB each. That is available in terms of format, required format given to the mapper. Later it is going to divide, partition, combine, etc. All these done in terms of task tracker only. The job tracker is only element of the task tracker, which processor we have to give to the your requirement. So each task tracker will start execution. I said this execution of processing is going to be done in terms of a mapper and the reducer. The mapper will take input data, will convert into key value paste, stores in the local drive. Those data is going to take care of by different task trackers in the different racks also. R1, R2 is the racks. Okay. Later, like this, we have different task trackers. Not only one task tracker is able to execute our data, but lot of task trackers are required. Okay. So all this data is going to process different task trackers. Those are going to store in the DFS. Okay. See, if you observe, this total splitting, verification, identifying of the task tracker is at the mapper phase. Later, after converting this data or splitting data, is going to give to the reducer phase, where actual data is going to process it to get this output. Here we can do lot of works, sort, read, output, etc. Right. So, hope you understood all these 4 elements. Now, as I said previously, what is the work of the job tracker? I will conclude this in a very short manner. Job tracker is an essential demo for MapReduce execution in MapReduce version 1. The name is going to replace in terms of resource manager or application manager in reverse 2. The job tracker receives the request for MapReduce execution from the client, as I said previously. Job tracker process runs on a separate node and not usually on a data node, of course. Okay. Next. So job tracker talks to the name node to determine the location of the data. Job tracker finds the best task tracker to execute its data. Okay, and job tracker monitors individual task tracker. It submits back to overall status of the job back to the client. It is a work of the main job tracker. Yes. When the job tracker is down, what will happen? Of course, it will search for the any other job tracker that is a work. As I said previously in the beginning of the slides, there is a high availability of the data. That high availability is whenever his job tracker is down, automatically another job tracker will take care of that. Who is a task tracker? The task tracker is a node in the cluster that accepts task, that is map and reduce and shuffle operations from the job tracker. Every task tracker is configured with a set of slots. These include a number of tasks that can be accessed. Means how many tasks it is able to execute. All this done with the task tracker itself. Task tracker is failure is not considered No problem, because a number of processes are available in the distributed matter. If this task tracker is failed, automatically another is going to get. But how to know the failure of the task tracker? The task tracker will send some heartbeat signals to the job tracker in every 3 seconds. Whenever the job tracker is not able to get any heartbeat signal from the task tracker, means automatically this task tracker is down. We have to divert the data to another task tracker. That's it. Now I will continue this in the next slide. Okay. Have a nice day.